Hello and welcome along to the Property Academy podcast. I'm your host, Steve McKnight.
And I'm Andrew Nicol.
And to the show, we are doing a review of Investor Pro, which is a new app that's just been released by Tama Singh. Now, just for anybody who hasn't heard of Tama yet, he is a very popular flipper in New Zealand. Does a lot of flips. In fact, since April 2021, he has done over 55 flips, which is an enormous number in just 2 years. He also does a lot on social media. You guys might follow him on Instagram or Facebook. And on top of that, does a couple of weekend workshops around the country. Now, the cool thing is he's just released an app called Investor Pro. And we're going to tell you what it is and everything you need to know. Now, I must admit, this is the first time I'm logging in, so you guys are going to be able to get our live reactions. Now, Andrew, you have spent the weekend testing out this new free app. What is the setup like? What actually is it? Can I download it on my phone, or what is it?
Okay, so it's a web-based application, so you can't actually download an app to your phone. But one of the things you can do if you are using a web-based app is you can just save the page to your homepage on your phone, so you can log in that way. So this is really good for if you're on the road and you're wanting to put in the details of your deal to see if it's viable or not, or to start tracking it. Really handy application rather than using, we love our Excel spreadsheets, but Excel can be a little bit hard on your phone, right?
Okay, so this is an app to check specifically flips, right? So if you want to buy a property, do it up and then sell it really quickly, this is an app that you can use. And you are right that if you want to use a spreadsheet, that can be really good because you can play around with it, you can do a lot of customization. But similarly, there are a lot of people out there who are like, just tell me what I need to give you. I don't need to play around with it. Just put in some details and give me something. And similarly, you don't need to have Excel in order to play around with it. And of course, these days, not everybody does have Excel downloaded on their computer. It does cost money to be able to use that.
So there's kind of three main components to the usefulness of this app. There's tracking your deals, and then there's assessing your deals, and then later on there's going to be resources as well. But that's not actually available at the moment.
Okay, so let's say that I log in, and it's really simple. You go to investorpro.nz, you put in your email address, they send you a code, it takes like 2 minutes. But I can see already you have put one deal in there, 123 Test Street, and...
Does that take you back?
Oh, it takes me back to the good old days. I've been to Test Street many, many times, and it suggests that you've got this deal's going to have about $21,000 in net profits and all of that good stuff. So tell me about what happens when you create that deal, Andrew. Maybe we should go through and create one ourselves.
Let's create one. So first off, you start by putting in your property address. So put whatever you want in there.
Okay, this is going to be 123 Queen Street. It's going to be in Auckland. And
then you choose where you're at in the process at the moment. So are you testing the feasibility? Are you submitting an offer? Are you under due diligence? Are you unconditional? Are you in progress?
Yeah, okay, all of that good stuff.
Have you settled? Then you can put in...
Does it have one? Does it have two? Does it have 3 bedrooms? Cool. So we put in the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, all of the parking, that kind of stuff. The sort of stuff you'd expect, maybe floor area as well.
And then I think one of the key areas here is actually tracking your dates. So you put when your contract is going to go unconditional, and then the settlement date, which will follow after that. Then, of course, when you've actually got a sale contract, because again, this is for flippers, you're putting in your sale unconditional date and then your sale settlement date. So again, you can track all of these important key dates.
Well, the most important part for this is really about making calculations. So if you're at feasibility, you're going to guess when you're going to buy it. You're going to guess when you're going to sell it. Now that becomes really important because the app is going to need to calculate the amount of interest you're going to pay, right? So you need to put in specific days, even if they are going to move around, because then it can say, well, your interest, it uses a default interest rate of 11.2%. Well, how much interest are you paying per day? That is going to impact your profit. So that's not just about tracking, it's about calculation as well.
So then you put in your purchase price and your agent sales commission, so whatever you've got an arrangement there, your legal fees, and all of your holding costs, so rates and insurance.
Now, what's important there is you'd probably only put in the rates and insurance, not as an annual fee, but as whatever you are going to consume over the time you hold it. So, for instance, if your rates is $2,000 a year and you're going to hold this property for 3 months during the renovation renovation and then also during the sales, then you'd only use $500, for instance.
Yeah, well, that's one of the questions that I actually messaged Tama to ask him, because it wasn't clear to me whether or not that was the per annum amount or your actual holding cost. This is your actual holding cost, so you've got to estimate how much of that it's going to be.
Same with agent's commission. I'd be interested in knowing. It would be, I mean, the good thing is, Tama said, we've just released this to iron out the kinks before we start charging for it. So here you go. We'll just tell you some of the kinks we see right now. It'd be good to know what the agent's commission is, whether that's, plus GST or inclusive of GST. Same for all of these, because then some people will be GST registered, some people won't, and then would also just impact the number you put in the end.
And then, of course, you put all your actual work, so your electrician, your builder, your plumber, any of that kind of stuff.
I'm just going to put in some random figures, kind of a bit for this, a bit for that, see what the case is, landscaper. So it's this one big long form, isn't it?
Yep, one big long form, and then let's just go down to sale price.
Yeah, what would be quite good as well is if they kind of had ranges for what you could expect, maybe might be quite useful. Let's say we use it. 10% interest rate, 35% deposit. And then income tax rate is interesting as well, because if you're selling, you might have a staged income tax rate. So at the moment it says, kind of 33%, but, if you're on $70,000 income, maybe part of your flip will be at 33%, maybe it's 39%, depending on what you earn.
And then depending on what entity you're doing this in, because you might have a trading trust, for example. Then, of course, you put your likely sale price, your weekly rental income.
Why would that be useful?
That's a very good question. That's what I asked as well, because I thought surely you're not going to rent out the property during the construction time, and Tama's answer was no. This calculates what the gross yield would be based on all of these things, and I think he's future-proofing for BRRRR investors later on, so those people that are going to actually hold the property.
Oh, okay, yeah, because when we had him on the phone, he also mentioned that, hey, we're thinking we will do some long-term cash flows as well within this in the future, and then some before and after photos, and then you can also put in all of your building reports and some information. Now, let's submit that, Andrew, and take a wee look at what it suggests. So this tells you that, okay, $76,000 is your total expenses. We're going to sell it for $800K. So our net profit after tax is going to be $71,000, a 10% margin. And it tells us that this could be a hot deal. Now, these numbers are completely baloney because we've just put in random numbers and, it just so happened that it looked like a good deal. This is just based on absolutely nothing other than random numbers we put in. So
no, go out and buy 123 Queen Street immediately.
Yeah, you can buy it for $600,000 and then, able to sell it for $800,000 at the end of the day.
And so just to tell you what the qualifying factors are for it to become a hot deal or not. So if it's over 40,000 net margin, so after tax, that's a hot deal. If it's between 15 and 40K, it might be viable. And if it's under 15K, it's not a viable deal.
Oh, so it's about the net profit.
Correct.
Yeah, I would have thought it'd be based on the net margin and, or some combination of net margin and net profit. And then I'll tell you the reason why is because you could have something that gives you a $40,000 net profit, but if it was a $2 million property, it'd be an awful margin. Do you know what I mean? And then if you've got a very expensive renovation, it's easier for it to blow out quite quickly. Whereas compared to if you had a $10,000 renovation, the likelihood that you'd have a large contingency is quite low.
That's a good point.
So, but do you know what? I actually think it's a very good first go.
Yeah, as far as a first look into this app, I was pretty impressed at the weekend. One really cool thing is that you can make your file either public or private. So if I want to keep this deal to myself because I'm just in the feasibility stage, I don't want anyone else to see it, then I keep it on private. If it's a deal that I've done, he's wanting to create a community where others can look at them. So take an example of...
78
No,
Mary
don't
Street.
do that one.
No, I want to do that one. No, okay, which one did you want to do?
Okay, do the one that's 14. Next, go, there, that one there.
Yeah, Hempthurst Street. Okay, so you've got total expenses of 570 odd K. This guy reckons he's going to sell it for 680. Net profit of 63,000. So he would say that's a deal, right?
Yes,
that
absolutely. That's a
could
hot deal.
be a hot deal because it's over the $40,000. And obviously you've got the tab here. We can go into some sort of resources. What sort of resources is he planning on releasing there?
So Tama's going to put a whole lot of videos on here. He does a lot of social media content, so I'm sure he'll upload some of those tricks and tips that he does. I'm guessing they're going to be short videos like our YouTube type channel, putting all of those in there. And then he's also hoping to have a bunch of resources like checklists, for example. So a checklist for when you're going and looking at an open home, a checklist for pre-settlement inspection, a checklist with some of the clauses that you might have in a sale and purchase, some of those kind of things. Now, those aren't going to be available on the free version. So at the moment, you can go in and sign up for free. In the future, you will be able to put one property in here for free. If you want the paid version, it's going to be about $19 a month, and that will give you access to unlimited properties, but then also the resources as well.
Yeah, okay. I think what's quite useful in this as well is probably initially I thought, oh, who cares about the tracking? But it is quite difficult to, actually keep track of your deals sometimes, like especially if you guys are flipping and you're trying to do a lot of flips as you go, adding things in like the sale and purchase agreement, the LIM report, the rental appraisal. And I'll tell you the reason why. What often happens with all properties is you get all of these documents and they end up in your emails, and they're all in your emails, and then you think, where was that sale and purchase agreement? Oh my gosh, I've got to dig through my emails to find that building report, and then you can never quite find what you're looking for. So having it in one place could definitely be quite beneficial. I know that there are some people who love these kinds of tools and keeping them up to date. Some people don't care as much, that you're kind of quite happy to have everything in your emails and it being a little bit more chaotic. But for anybody who is quite interested in keeping things a little bit more tidy, then uploading them could be quite useful and just seeing where things are at. And again, I think it's probably a pretty good stab as a first go. I'm sure it'll get better over time as well.
I quite like when I was uploading files, it was very easy to do that, and you could have multiple files for a single category. So in there, you'll see under rental assessments, I've put, or contractors quotes, I've put a couple of dummy files up just because I was curious to see how easy that was.
Yeah, okay, that's not too bad. And one other thing that I don't want to know is, let's say I put a deal up and make it public. Can everybody see every single deal every single document I've uploaded? So let's say I did this 78 Mary Street and I've uploaded all of my private information. I've got my sale and purchase, my rental appraisal, my secret floor plans that I've drawn up with all of my tactics. Can people see that?
Yeah, no, they can only see the higher level numbers. So what the kind of expected margin would be, what the expenses are going to be, what the return is, so that, again, you're sharing in that community, but you're not giving away all your secret sauce.
Yeah, okay. So this is an app that is specifically about flipping. Andrew, would you describe it as a flipping good app?
Oh, so good, Ed. I think there's a really good tool for anyone that is doing flips, and I'd be really curious to see what the next phase of this looks like with the cash flow analysis and things like that for people that are using the burst strategy.
Now, you mentioned before as well that this is just the free version. It's going to become paid. I think you mentioned in December, so we're talking about 2 months away. What's he going to charge for that?
$19 per month is what he said, but that might change.
Yeah, cool. It actually makes me think as well, Andrew, gosh, maybe we should just go ahead and do one of these.
As if we don't have enough on our plate.
Well, we don't have one of these. People tell me, Ed, your ROI spreadsheet, maybe it's a bit complicated. So now my ideas are wearing away. I know we're currently doing a new version of my wealth plan where people can do a whole heap of really, really exciting things. But in terms of deal analysis, I'm actually starting to get quite interested in it now that I've seen this and think, oh, yeah, I can see how we could do that. Right, let's wrap it up there, but please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It really does help us get the message out to more people. And hey, if you want to see the video version of this, if you've got your headphones in at the gym and you're just listening to this on your podcast app, just Google Opus Partners YouTube. It'll be the first thing that comes up. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for listening to the Property Academy podcast. I'm your host, Steve McKnight.
And I'm Andrew Nicol.
We're going to be back again tomorrow with even more daily strategies, tactics, and insights to help you get the most out of the New Zealand property market. Until next time.